Chapter 30. Robinson as Potter. Robinson was now anxious to cook his food, to boil his rice and vegetables and bake bread, but he could do nothing without cooking vessels. He had tried to use cocoanut shells, but these were too small and there was no way to keep them from falling over and spilling the contents. He determined to try to make some clay vessels. He knew where he could get a kind of clay that had the appearance of making good ware. It was fine grained and without lumps or pebbles. He was much perplexed to mold the clay into the right shapes. He tried taking a lump and shaping it into a vessel with his hands. He tried many times, but each time the clay broke, and he was forced to try some other way. He recalled how he had made his basket out of strands of twisted grass, and wondered whether he could not make his pots in the same way. He spun the clay out into a long rope and began to coil it around a small basket, forming the layers together with his hands. This was easy, but he did not see clearly how he was going to get the basket out from the inside of the pot. He found he could copy in this way any form he wished, but he finally hit upon the plan of making a form of wicker work and coiling the clay rope inside it. For he saw that whether he succeeded or not in getting the clay free from the basket, he could use the pot, and besides, if the pot would stand the fire, the basket would burn off. To dry the pots, Robinson stood them in the sun for a few days. When they were dry, he tried to cook some soup in one of them. He filled it with water and put it on his stove or oven, but how sadly had he deceived himself! In a short time the water soaked into the clay, and soon the pot had fallen to pieces. "How foolish I am!" said Robinson to himself. "The pots have to be fired before they can be used." He set about this at once. He found two stones of equal size, placed them near each other, and laid a third across these. He then placed 3 large pots upon them, and made a hot fire under them. No sooner had the flames shot up than one of the pots cracked in two. "I probably made the fire too hot at first," thought Robinson. He drew out some of the coals of wood, but afterwards gradually increased the fire again. He could not, however, get the pots hot enough to turn red. He brought the driest and hardest wood, but could not succeed in getting them hot enough to turn red. At length he was tired out, and was compelled to give up. When the pots were cool, he tried to boil water in one. It was no better than the sun-dried one. He saw now that he must provide some way to get the pots much hotter than he could in the open air. He resolved to make an oven of stones large enough to take in the wood as well as the pots. It must be above ground, so that there might be plenty of draught for fire. With great labor he pried up and carried together flat stones, enough to make an oven about 4 feet high, with a chimney at one side. He had put in the center a stone table, on which he could place 3 quite large pots. He left an opening in one side that could be partially closed by a large flat stone. He worked eagerly, and at the end of the second day he was ready to fire his oven. He first carried together a good quantity of dry wood. Then he put in his pots and laid the wood around them. In a short time he had a very hot fire. He kept this up all day and until late at night. The next morning he went to his oven and found his pots were a beautiful red. He drew out the fire and allowed them to cool slowly. Then he filled one with water and set it over the fire to heat it. Before many minutes the water was boiling, and Robinson had another reason to be thankful. He wept for joy. His patient labors had brought their rewards. No prince could feel as happy as Robinson now. He had overcome all difficulties. Starting with nothing but his hands, he was now able to supply all his wants. "If I only had a companion now," he thought, "I would have nothing further to wish as long as I stay on the island." Chapter 31. Robinson as Potter.